Hey guys, what's up? This is the Best You Nation. I'm Adler and this is Finn.
What's going on, guys?
Finn, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
Man, it's I'm doing actually pretty good. I can't complain. Um let's I we obviously have a pretty good topic and I don't want to waste too much time doing the housekeeping stuff. But for those of y'all that already know, we have our own coffee. Definitely check it out on TBYN worldwide. Um, so just show us some love. We got shirts, we got hoodies, we got a whole bunch of different things. So definitely give us some support. We now streaming on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the good things above. And I feel like that's pretty much all the housekeeping things because I kind of want to speed into it because I want to jump into today's topic. But first, before we do, as we start off the last few episodes, what's one thing that you could have improved on this week? Finn, you go first.
So I think there's always room for improvement on all areas of life, but I think one space that I'm really going to focus on, and it's not just a today or tomorrow or between the next 7 days, it's actually going to be working on my study habits. It's something that I think I could do better. It's getting the fine-tuning aspects of the studying, getting my gears rolling again. School is fun. School sucks, all of the above, but I just took the TEAS test and, my second time, and I'm only saying that is because sometimes, you get out what you put in, and I think
That's
that
true.
I could definitely be doing better on my exams if I were to take the time to study. So one thing I'm going to be focusing on for sure is for the next 30 days. So guys, keep me accountable. Adler, keep me accountable the next 30 days. And Finn, keep yourself accountable. Speaking in third, maybe second person. Is getting my studying down, putting in the hours, and actually prioritizing that because it is the only door that gets me into the next step for nursing school for certain programs that I'm trying to apply for. And so if I want it bad enough, I'm going to put the time in. I'm not saying that I haven't wanted it bad enough. It's more so I just kind of underestimating the test, and then I'm getting the results that I don't want. So I need to put in the time to work. And I got that out of this past week, kind of just not putting forth the best amount of time that I should. So being transparent, being honest, that's one thing I'm...
Nothing to it but to do it. That's
right.
really honestly what it is. Just putting the time, putting the effort.
How about
and
you?
of course, yeah, I definitely could see you conquering this exam. So you just got to just do what you like. So I started reading this David Goggins book. I think it's called "You Can't Hurt Me." So I'm only in the first chapter or so, but he quoted a Persian philosopher. I think it was a Persian philosopher, and the philosopher said, "In war, if you have 100 men, 10 of them don't belong on the battlefield. The other 80 are just extra bodies that are there that more than likely may or may not survive. Then you have 9 elite warriors, but then you also have that one that's just he is the all-star, the top tier. He's like the Hercules, he's the Kratos, he's the Achilles. He is that guy, and he talks about becoming that person. And for you, I definitely can see you. You're that guy. You're definitely one of the 9. But now the question is how much of that guy are you? And this is where dogs that alpha starts to come out. And I'm excited for you. I know you're gonna do well. So I'll definitely hold you accountable.
Well, we definitely had some good off-air conversation.
Yeah.
Conversations are always really good off-air. We always you lay down, I don't want to say you lay down the laws, but you pretty much said, dude, you've got to restrict. You said something, the word that did come to my mind, holy smokes. Put away your...
You have to delay your
gratifications. I knew it started with a G. I couldn't think of the word. But yeah, your gratifications, delay that. Put them aside and focus. Because it's only really 30 days. Take a test, boom.
Exactly. And so, there's something to say about, being slightly uncomfortable, being slightly uncomfortable helps you to focus, to remember, prioritize what needs to get done, and just make sure that you focus. And that's just something that I think is imperative for every person to learn. And you know, you just have to delay your gratification. If you're not in a state where you're constantly happy, you have no desire to work. But if you're unhappy, you're unsatisfied, then that's when you find a way to break through that mental block and go to that next level.
Right. So how about yourself, man? I know we've been kind of
Oh,
chit chatting
yeah,
about that.
yeah,
But what about
sorry.
you? What's no? It's okay.
Um,
I wanted to hear about you. What are you? What is something that you?
Something that I could be improving on.
Correct.
I didn't get a chance to spend as much time with friends and family the past like 7 days or 8 days. So of the last 8 days, I've worked seven. No, sorry. Of the last seven, I've worked six. I put in roughly 86, 87 hours in the last like 7 days. At one point, I worked 6 days straight. So I would just get up, go to work, get up, go to work, get up, go to work. And so I really didn't get a chance to spend time with my mom, my dad, which happy birthday. My mom's birthday just recently passed, and it's always a conflicting time for me when on my mom's birthday, because it's my mother's birthday, and we get a chance to get together, we celebrate, we have dinner, but also it's the same day that one of my best friends passed away, and this year makes 5 years. And so it's like, on one hand you're really happy, and on the other hand you're just like, oh man, you know, she would have loved to see where I'm at now. And so it's making sure that my mom feels special during her day, but then also trying to remember, you know, uh, a fallen loved one. And it just kind of puts things in perspective. It allows you to understand that life is so short, it's a gift, and you really have to do your best to spend time with loved ones. Like, work is important, yeah, but what's more important is your family, your loved ones, your friends. Those relationships are the pillar to, getting you through hard times, to support you. They make you who you are. Meanwhile, a job, you drop dead, they're just gonna keep moving on forward and just fill your spot with somebody else. So I didn't do a good job this past like 7 days of balancing between work and friends, and I just need to kind of just it's not even like I don't have enough time. I need to create time and just prioritize it. And so that's something I'm gonna try to work on the next 30 days or so, because after this, I'm going to actually end up going to the West Coast. So I'm not going to have nearly as much time with my friends and family. So I'm acknowledging that. And I got
That
to do
still
better
means
about
that
it.
the podcast will still be going. It's just we have other
Yeah,
plans.
we're
We're
just
gonna
going to
go,
be doing it via Zoom. So,
which will still be kind of cool.
yeah, of course. And we'll still be coming in with fresh, hot content.
You're also gonna be what 3-4 hours behind me,
Yeah.
so
So,
we have to find a way to.
yeah, well, I mean, we'll figure it out. That's just, this is when you're driven, when you're motivated. It's not really about like, when you're passionate about something. It's not something that like you have to force yourself. This is something that you want. This is something that like you feel incomplete. Like you feel it in your bones. You can't sleep at night because you're so excited what the future holds. That's the level of like intensity that I I I feel towards the podcast. I feel towards like what we're doing, and I know that we're going to make it. It just more so just putting in the time, just making sure that we get done what we need to get done. One area that I felt like I did pretty good in is I actually started that book I was telling you about by David Goggins, and like David Goggins, and if you guys have never like heard of him or read up on him, the guy is brilliant. Like, and I don't know if I'm doing enough like justice to describe his life, but the guy went through an abusive relationship with his father, and he came out the other side, and he was a Navy SEAL. He went through Marine training. He done the Army training. He's done the Air Force training. He's done all these different trainings. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, y'all can fact check me. He's one of 7 people in the history to go through every single one of the branches, like type of training, and pass. And he just does it because he's a psycho. And like, I mean that in a very like
What book did he just recently write?
he's intense, huh?
Well, I now that you're saying he's in the Navy, David Goggins wrote a book recently, and it probably is the one you're talking about. It's like with him in uniform.
It's
Don't
You Can't Hurt Me.
You Can't Hurt Me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's I started. Yeah. I didn't really start it. I read the back of the book because someone who suggested it, and
It's intense, man. I kind of
is that what you're reading now, right?
yeah,
Okay.
I kind of like got through like the first chapter, and I just kind of like, it made me feel very humble and blessed just to know that, my upbringing wasn't nearly as wasn't anywhere close to as violent. Like, he talks about how his dad provided like financially, but lacked in like love, and lacked in like all these other areas. And he's a testament of just sheer will, like sheer will. And that's intense. And the reason why I actually bring up the book today is because willpower is like one of those things that, you can't, you're not just born with it. Willpower is something that you're taught, you're trained, and you learn to, like, willpower is just basically callousing your mind, because the mind sometimes is your greatest enemy. I think David kind of broke it down in a way where he said, you can't, like, your mind, you can't trick it. Your mind knows your deepest insecurities. It knows what hurts you. It knows like what motivates you, what can really, really get underneath your skin. Your mind is your best friend and also your greatest enemy. And if you don't develop a way to callous it, to harden it, to get that mindset, then you're never going to accomplish anything worthwhile in life. You're gonna meet resistance and give up. You're gonna quit. And that's something I think that's like ultra powerful. And that's kind of like what we wanted to discuss today is, we have dreams, you have goals, and you set out on that journey, right? You have the plan, you have it all mapped out, and you're thinking, okay, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, and this is how everything's going to go. And then, unfortunately, life has a way of creating these speed bumps. It throws different wrenches, different roadblocks, different things that you thought would never happen, and all of a sudden they happen. And I think that the most important thing to learn, especially when you have like a very detailed plan that's spans for a 3 to 5 year process, is you have to learn how to be adjustable. You have to learn how to pivot. So sometimes what you thought would get you directly to where your goal is, sometimes you have to pivot, go this way, something happens, pivot, and you got to keep on learning how to pivot until you reach that end goal. It's not always going to be a straight shot. Sometimes you're going to have to go down, you're going to have to go up, you're going to have to, work alongside people. It's never how you envision it. The most important thing is that you just take that first step, because the first step is the most daunting, because this is a new journey. It's something new. It's something scary. You're out of your comfort zone, and you really have to tell yourself, I need to learn how to be comfortable getting uncomfortable, and stay in that state. And as long as you're able to stay in that state and learn how to pivot, man, you're the human mind, the human will is so powerful that you will find your way to your destination. It's just a matter of how hard are you willing to work for it, and what are you willing to do in order to get what you always wanted.
I want to add on to the concept of, you said it was the becoming comfortable being uncomfortable. So that actually struck me back to a time where I think I talk about this a lot, and I think it's a good place because I had a lot of moments in life where I've recently more so, or even in the last really 5 years, where it's this development of becoming a man, going from boyhood to manhood, and developing the maturity and the understanding of the journey, the life, the experiences, right? So one of the things that I want to touch on is the concept that at the time, Master Sergeant Brooks, I think it was like our second week of training, and and for all y'all who didn't know, when I was 18, I joined the U.S. Air Force. That was something I've always wanted to do, knowing that my dad served in the military, in the Army for 20 years, retired as a major. I knew I wanted to follow in his footsteps. So that was my path that I wanted to take. So one of the things that I remember specifically, we had huddled in the day room before Master Sergeant Brooks kind of like was done for the day, and it was time for us to kind of wind down for, taps, for basically for time to shut our eyes and go to sleep. He had talked to us about this uncomfortable and explained to us, he shared a story with us about when he was in one of the bunkers, or I guess it was more so because he was kind of like a front man when he was younger, before he kind of pulled back and started working at basic training. And he was like sharing with me, he says, man, guys, you guys are here. You guys get a bed, you guys get air conditioning, you guys have all these things, you guys get 3 good meals, and you guys effed up because basically we had 5 or 6 guys that had fallen asleep on a Sunday, myself included, not sleeping, but myself included, with other guys that were in charge. We got yelled at because we were responsible for our flight, and these guys were sleeping, and we should have been more proactive and more intuitive about our team. But that's a completely different detail for a different day. But I remember him telling us about this journey. He says, guys, I was in a bunker. I was on the side of a bunker. And, at a time where I think this was like Desert Storm, maybe, that he was over in Iraq or Afghanistan. And he was explaining to us, he said, I was out there with an MRE, 3,000 calorie meal. There was no guarantee that we were going to have an air conditioner. We didn't have a bed, and you guys are out here complaining. You guys are screwing off doing the wrong thing, but you guys complain how terrible and miserable it is. And basically, the moral of the story was, he put in perspective that being in a bunker for 6 hours, crunched up with absolutely no ability to move, because you had to be quiet or else you're going to get shot, blown up, or you might, attract some movement for the enemy to hear or see you, can cost you your life and other people's lives. He said, you had to learn that the way to live was to be uncomfortable. You being crunched down with a 60-pound pack on your back, with an AR-15 in your hand, ready to take on the enemy, you better make that crunched position for 6 hours the most comfortable. And the reason that popped up to me is because that is something I remember in basic training. We literally, it is one of the most uncomfortable, but one of the most benefiting parts of my journey. It's that willpower. It changed the perspective of, okay, there's 8.5 weeks, of basic training. It's not that bad. It seems like the longest time of your life, but it's not that bad. And then my course changes. So this now kind of takes me to another example to kind of just tie this into your destination. When you input it in your GPS, let's say for our iPhone, you just use Apple Maps, right? Mm-hmm. Or for those who like Google Maps. You put in your destination, let's say Starbucks, or maybe
some of us like Waze too,
or Waze if you like Waze. If you like Waze,
huge
anybody
Waze.
with
huge Waze fan, just saying.
Anybody with a GPS
tells you about the cops. sorry.
No, it's okay. I mean, you can Apple's getting there. Yeah. Apple's got a future now that you can do that.
Okay.
But anybody who has any access to a phone, Waze, Google Maps, Apple Maps, whatever map system you like, okay? You input your destination. You like your Starbucks, whether you're going to school, you're going to work, or you're going to your destination for vacation, the airport, whatever it is, your mom's house, okay? You should know that. But my point is that you have a destination. You know your destination. You have a destination set into place. Now, when you pull out your maps, and actually Cassandra and I were doing this because we were looking at going to North Carolina, or South Carolina, for a little getaway for a weekend, mm-hmm. and we were trying to figure out what's going to be the fastest route.
Yeah.
Most maps will offer you 3 different routes. They'll offer you the toll road, or they avoid the toll roads. Then they give you the fastest route and also the quickest routes. And sometimes they'll even include the longest route, which requires nothing really. It's just the longest route there. Don't know why they do it, but they do it. Some people like to take the scenic route. So the same way that Siri or Apple Maps or Google Maps or Waze will offer you will offer you a variety of different ways to get to the same place.
Routes.
Life is the same exact way.
Yep.
Sometimes we want to take the fastest route, which, by the way, is we did on our way to Savannah. And let me tell you, it took us an hour. It actually took us just as long as we took the other route because of the accidents that were along the way. And so, just like you were saying, Adler, sometimes you may go the fastest route. We went the fastest route available, a 3.5-hour drive turned into almost a 5-hour drive, all because of the obstacles that were in the way. But guess where we ended up? We still ended up in Savannah. We still ended up having a phenomenal time.
Enjoyed the weekend.
And we enjoyed our weekend. We got to where we needed to go. Your destination will never change, no matter what. If you have a plan, like for me personally, like I want to go into nursing school, I keep trying to take the fast route, but I'm not driving the correct speed limit, and I keep getting caught, and I get pulled over because I'm not using Waze, guys. Sorry, it's not the right Waze.
Okay.
But my point is, at the end of the day, we sometimes struggle with that. We get confused with why certain results are not presented the way that we want to. And I think that when you think about what God says in the Bible, it actually talks about this. And I heard this at this was at a funeral of one of our Popka firemen. So
Rest in peace.
yes, rest in peace, brother. We're taking it from here. The pastor was talking about the walking through the valley of shadow of death, and he basically was pointing out that you don't run through that, you walk through that. And essentially that whole passage, and I can never quote the passage exactly, but I do remember saying that basically God is going to provide you a way. God sees a straight line. He's given you a straight line, but because we're imperfect, the line is actually squiggled all over the place because we make the line squiggly. But God sees a straight line. And so you're going to go through the tribulations and the trials and the uncomfortable moments where you don't know where you're going to be, how you're going to get over these ups and downs, left and right, zigzags and U-turns. But God already has an endpoint and a destination for you. The problem is oftentimes you and I, we will face that. And because we don't see the silver lining, we get uncomfortable. We become afraid. We are unsure. We're insecure. We start to doubt. We start to look back and try to figure out, well, I'm closer to home base than I am to my destination. And when you look back, it's kind of like, I don't like looking. I'm not saying I'm afraid of heights, but it's a lot scarier looking down and realizing how high you are once you've climbed the ladder. You're on a roller coaster. Oh crap! So it's better to, like I said it when I was at Busch Gardens. I told Zach, I was like, Zach, don't look back, don't look down, because when you look down, you're gonna literally crap your pants, because you're gonna be like, holy crap, you're 200 something feet in the air. This is the only way down to get back to the starting point is to go down that hill.
There's no other way.
So I know it was a variety of examples that I wanted to share.
Yeah.
And so that's just kind of what I throw out there.
And I think that you're absolutely correct, man. Like, life throws different things at you, and just like your trip to Savannah, there was no way that you were gonna know that there was gonna be a car accident. You didn't have any idea that was gonna happen, but you still pushed forward. And I guess, like, one of the questions I have, and I'm not sure if you can answer this, but why is it that, like, most people have this idea that, once they hit some resistance, it's better to just quit instead of continuing on and pushing forward. So, like, do you, like, I'm not sure if you have any insight, or why do you think that people just say, you know what, I've hit this resistance and this has happened. It's a sign. I'm not doing it. I'm done.
Well, I think people are selective per the situation. But I think that when people hit resistance, they have internal barriers. They have a self-doubt. And I think that's something, like, even a couple weeks ago we talked about one of my new personal records is lifting 280-pound dumbbells. And then when I worked out with you sometime, I remember you told me, like, push yourself, pick up the 50s and do the 50s. And I said, dude, I can't. He's like, that's because you keep telling yourself. And you said something very unique, and it was you're intimidated by the rack. Sometimes we get intimidated by the rack. So you either continue to work out with the same 50 pounds and I'm getting somewhere with this. I feel it. You continue to push 50-pound dumbbells. You're going to get really good at pushing those. It's not going to be a challenge anymore. So now you don't really know what you're capable of doing, because now sometimes we just feel good. Here it is. We feel good when we've mastered something that we know. Anything beyond this, like 50 pounds. You've gotten the 50 pounds down, you got it. That's all you know. You will never know how much resistance you have or the capabilities you have unless you try it. I honestly was dumbfounded when I picked up 65s. Mm-hmm. Then I was dumbfounded. Zach was like, hey, go pick up the 70s. And I said, dude, okay, fine, 70s. I was able to do 70s. I think the issue that people have is they realize that it's just better to feel good about themselves reaching their max goal. And if you can't see it, it's quotated. You've reached something because we feel good when we can hit what we're comfortable with, instead of pushing ourselves to the uncomfortable, which now becomes the breaking point. Because that's the difference between comfortable and uncomfortable. It's being willing to cross the breaking point, still standing. And people get afraid, oh my God, if I pick up 60-pound weights, I might hurt myself. Well, yes, but if you do it correctly, you can do it correctly and you won't hurt yourself. But I guess that's the best way that I could put it into perspective, is that it feels good to pick up 50 pounds because you're good at it. You've mastered it. I don't want to do 60s because maybe someone might judge me at the gym that I'm not able to lift them as good as my 50s. So I'll stick with my 50s because I know I can do them. Because that's muscle memory. It's how we think. It's kind of like, okay, another crazy example. It's like being able to be an EMT. That's what I started off with, right? Yes. At the same time, now I want to go to nursing school.
Okay.
I might have to face transparent. Here's a real transparent moment. I really want to go to Seminole State because I've already got all my prereqs. I'm done. All I got to take is this TEAS test, which I've taken twice now, right? And just pass it, and I'm good. But because that's like my 50-pound weight, I might have to explore my options, the 60 pounds, the 70 pounds, and the 80 pounds, and get through nursing school. But because we are so comfortable with what's there in front of us, we won't work past our 40-hour week. We won't work that overtime. We don't want to search for another school because it's right there. Or, I'm going to work for my parents for the rest of my life because I already have a job. Why would I have to go find another job? Because you want $15 or do you want to start making more? I already got my high school education. I don't need another high school education. Now, of course, that varies depending on what you're doing. Some occupations, you don't need more than that. But I think what we do is once we've maxed out, which is right between your ears, as my dad used to say, between your ears, you've maxed out. You've told yourself already, 50 pounds is all you can do. That's your max.
That's all you're going to do.
That's all you're going to do.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of what I'm going through right now is Seminole State is a great school.
Yeah. One
of the top state colleges across the nation, but it also has a higher requirement to get in. And it goes back to the Persian proverb or story where those elite
philosopher.
Yeah, there's 9 people that are elite, but there's one that's at the top. It's the same concept. But there's other schools. Nursing school is a nursing school regardless. I guess I'm getting that from you and a couple other nurses that I talked to.
It doesn't matter where you go.
Because we want to be comfortable. I know that I have everything that I need for Seminole State, right? Why would I want to change my route? Because a straight line is impossible in this life.
So, and this is where,
Sorry, I don't know if that was a long answer, but it was. I felt like it was beef.
No. Well, so there's a couple of things I want to highlight. Like one, we talk about that journey, right? Mm-hmm. And sometimes being on that journey,
I feel good.
You think that you're going to get to the end goal. Like, for example, nursing school. And you think Seminole State is the car that you're going to drive in order to get there. Sometimes your car breaks down and you have to get a new one along the way. And then once it breaks down, you have to graduate to a different car, and so now you have um, a new device a new vessel or new way of getting to your end goal. And you just have to be adjustable, flexible, and not get too hung up on, oh, well, I wanted it like this and I need it like this. You just have to just go with the flow. That's one of the things that I pulled from what you were discussing. But then the next thing is you kind of highlighted something like perspective. You kind of talked about it. You said a lot of people quit because they're afraid of what people might think, and I think that is the ultimate answer. The answer is you're so stuck on the perspective, the optics of what it looks like to others that you don't even bother trying. And that blows my mind because there's no way that you're not trying something new just because you're afraid of what the Joneses might think or what somebody might think of you. There's no reason why you should do that. Like we're here doing this podcast, and there's people that judge us. Like, why are we doing it? There's no point in doing it. Well, guess what? It doesn't bother you. It doesn't affect what they're doing. It affects what I'm doing, what you're doing. So instead of giving credit or feeding into the opinions of others, lock it right here and just focus on what is it that I can do that can get me closer to that goal, and keep doing those things. Find the things that you need to do in order to be the person that you've always wanted to be.
Right. No,
that's really what it is.
That's all it comes down to. I mean, and even like just to kind of like tie things back in, it's like looking at everything in the grand scheme of life. We are so codependent on what other people think, not just with the decision of what school you go to or what job you hold. Like, there are parts of my life that I look back and I said, well, there's a lot of people who had told me I shouldn't ever go into healthcare. Well, I listened to them. I avoided it. I avoided it with the plague. Not because it's a bad industry, but because I just didn't want to be in a place where I mean, there was no rationale. It was just like, don't go in healthcare, don't work in healthcare, blah, 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 blah. But it changes because the journey changes. The destination is the same.
Yep.
I always knew I want to serve. I want to help people. And, here I am. I wouldn't spark an interest to continue my education and my growth in healthcare, to become a nurse, to be a caregiver, and to be a healthcare provider in my community. But, it's because you have to start setting aside what others, and it's not even so much setting aside, because setting aside is still there. Yeah. It's learning to tune in or tune out what is important and what's not. It's kind of like, I think we talked about this a couple months ago. I think maybe just briefly, we were on air with Jessica, and I was kind of talking to her about the mute, the turn off, or the turn the volume down, the being able to gauge the volume in the room. So in life, sometimes there are going to be people that you're going to do one of three things to stay focused on your path, to stay oriented, because it is intimidating when you're working out next to, okay, I'm gonna be honest, just going back to the workout example, I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty intimidating, because the same day that I was pushing myself in my personal records, this guy next to me has got veins like rivers and freaking arms the size like mountain tops, man. I'm like, dude, this is gonna look really weird when I go to pick up these weights and I can't do what I need to do. So to a certain extent, yeah, it's motivating. Like, yeah, I could do this. But then there's like this, oh my God, I want to look like a fool if I can't do this correctly.
Yeah.
Because we're looking for validation subconsciously all the time without us even thinking about it or with thinking about it. But reeling it all back in, it comes down to muting people. Some people are going to, seriously, they're going to yell at you, scream at you, and tell you, what are you doing? What you're
Bye, Felicia.
Yeah, it's just mute. Boom. But when you mute somebody in your journey or on your path, if they're still there, they're just not, there's no volume, there's no sound. So they're still present. Then you have people who you have to turn the volume down on. You just too much. Just turn all the way down. Okay. Even though it's still going to be, because turning the volume down requires more work. You got to zip, 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 zip.
Okay.
And then there's turn off completely. And I want you to think about this metaphorically. I don't mean like turning off people, meaning like shutting people down completely, but just sometimes you got to cut yourself off or cut other people out of your life to stay focused because
there's nothing wrong with taking space
you need
in
space.
order to accomplish what you need
Correct.
to accomplish.
It's gauging your volume, gauging your surroundings, and realizing that like this is my 30-day challenge for myself. And we're going to talk about being transparent. We're going to talk about being honest, talking about being real, like being the best version of myself. If I had to ask myself, me taking the TEAS test the second time and not doing so good on it as I did the first time, what could I have done better? I could have studied more. Did I know that? Yes. Did I do it? No. The first step is recognizing what you could do better. So from now until the next time of the month, around this time, I've got 30 days.
30 days.
Right? 30 days where I have to study and implement a different habit and build on that habit because I don't think it's just a now thing. I think this is actually a preparation for what's next.
Yeah.
Because I got frustrated. Not going to lie, I was frustrated with this test. I was going on and on and on telling Cassandra how like why do they even require such a test? But it's like just like anything else. You have to show through a standardized exam, especially in healthcare, that you are competent enough to do the work, to the job, and so forth. So I don't know. This is just me. This is this whole like becoming uncomfortable and being comfortable uncomfortable that I think people have to seriously find in their own life because I don't think it just applies to school work. I think it applies to your marriage. There are times. There was a video that Cassandra sent to me. You have to fight. If you're married, I'm not married, but like I'm in a very serious relationship, and there are times that whole pick your battle thing that it's too cliche. It's not that you make it into why does it have to be a battle? Why don't you reevaluate what you're talking about and converse differently? We make it an argument.
Yeah.
Arguments are stirred up just like you put a flame to the gasoline. You don't put a flame to gasoline. You just have a conversation because at the end of the day, we create the argument. Because originally it started off as a conversation and it just begins to elevate. So there's aspects of our life and our journey, our friendships, the people we work with, the people that we spend time with, the people that we love. If you have children, which I don't have, Adler doesn't have, but the thing is there's different little pieces and aspects of our journey that we can't relate to personally, but your finances, I'm gonna be honest, like I sat down and I looked at my credit. I'm tired of seeing my credit score being the same that it's been since I was like 18 years old. And I'm saying that because, sometimes you go into debt and you're paying off this debt and then you have to prioritize other things. You don't stop living, but you don't get intimidated. So I sat down with my own finances and I looked at, okay, what can I do here? And I'm going to be honest, I set a plan and I executed this week. I should have said that. That was one thing I did work. I don't even think I had a chance to say what I did this week. Or maybe I did. I don't know.
No, you did. I don't think so.
That was one thing I did. I executed on my finances. I set up all my stuff through my credit card. So now what I'm going to do is I have a checking account. Not that I want to share too much, but like, hey, I got to say here, pay off the credit card. And now I could do it because I make more money than I did when I was 18. A lot more. So now I can like actually manage that and start building on my credit, consolidating my debt, focusing on my education and figuring out ways where I can start looking into, not necessarily going into debt too much, but if I need to, that I have a plan. So that is something I worked on this week. But it's intimidating. I can tell you that was probably one of the most intimidating things is writing down all my bills because you know what? Start adding that up. You're like, oh my gosh, it better be under this much because that's how much I make per month. It's got to be underneath here. And I've added everything up. I figured out how I'm going to split my bills. Didn't realize that you can do your car payment 2 times a month in half and you actually save, I think, 6 or 8 months at the end. It's just a lot of things I learned this week. It's because I was intimidated. And I was afraid that there would be a very uncomfortable situation for a few hours to sit there and do finances. Just throwing that out there for anybody out there who's like, oh my gosh, finances. Because most people have a hard time with that. And I still have a lot to learn. So just throwing that out there.
Well, I mean, like I think you're absolutely right. Like, you came in with a learner's mindset. You didn't come into this like like I know everything. You come with the
Scholar approach. Is that
well,
correct?
more so it's just like you came here clear, and you're just like, all right, like clear mind, and you're willing to do whatever you need to do, and willing to learn however you need to learn, and willing to do anything it takes, whatever it takes, till the wheels fall off. That's literally, like,
At
at
that
least
point, I'm calling AAA.
it's till the wheels fall off, and we have to make sure that we go for it. And I think that you're doing a disservice to yourself by, not you, but just
No,
to
it could be
those of
too,
you,
right?
those of you who are, I'm not like,
He's not bashing you.
no. Just
He's
you,
just being real.
you're doing a disservice to yourself, because like you owe it to yourself to at least try. And if you try and you don't succeed, then at least now you know. Now, if you don't try at all, then that just means you're just living, like you're living half a life. You're living like a life that is deprived, that is devoid of, adversity. Like these are things that adversity helps create amazing individuals.
Yeah. Well, there's quitting and then there's failing. If you quit, you've pulled the cord. When you fail, that means you've tried.
The cord has been unplugged for you, but it wasn't you.
Well, it's more so that you keep putting you keep trying to plug in the plug, but you still like one of our lights here. It's like you're putting the plug in, but you fail to realize that it's not connected completely. And no matter how many times you try to plug it in, until you recognize that there's something else that needs to happen, it's not going to get done. So failing and quitting. Failing is do, up and down, get back, get on track until you get done. I don't know. That's just like a random thing.
No, I mean, like, and I agree with you. And I'm gonna say this, and then just before we close,
Yeah.
failure is the best teacher. You learn the most through failure. Things have happened so terribly wrong so many different times in other people's lives that it gives you failure as your, way of gaining experience, your way of doing what you need to do, and getting things done. Like failure allows you to be like, hey, I want to be successful in this goal or this field because I know where I came from and I failed really bad and I don't want to go back. Failure always clears out your eyes and your mind. Mm-hmm. It always does.
Yes, it does.
But just finishing up, guys, thank you so much just for joining us. We appreciate you, we love you, and we have a whole bunch of joy in our hearts because we get a chance to share and talk and speak and motivate and engage, and we love that. And we have different platforms on Instagram. We have 24 hours in a day. It's 24HRS in a day at well, it's on Instagram. And then, I was about to say my TikTok, but I thought about that. Anyway, we have the Finn Foster, and he's on Instagram as well. So definitely give us some love. And together we run the Best You Nation. So you'll see tons of videos and motivational, inspirational things that we just want to offer and share with the rest of the world, just so that way you guys are motivated and you guys are willing to do whatever it takes in order to take our spots, or to do what we're doing.
We're doing this as a family.
We're living a life where we're pushing our boundaries and learning and wanting to do more. So
to be the best version of yourself.
Boom, mic drop.
That being said, guys,
we love
have
you.
a great rest of your week,
Mwah.
and we love you, and we shall see you on the next episode.
God bless.